Today is September 25th, 2018. My name is Joe Todd, and this is an interview with Wayne Rountree in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Sir, where were you born?
Joppa, Missouri,
And when's your birthday?
January the 31st, 1934.
1934. Who is your father?
Lloyd E. Roundtree,
And your mother?
Josephine Roundtree, can't remember the middle initial,
What was her maiden name?
Lortz,
L.
ORTZ.
Okay. Did you go through school in Joppa?
I went through the 4th grade in Joppa,
Then would the family move
here.
to Bartlesville?
Yeah, 1943.
Why'd the family move here?
Dad went to work as physical ed director at the YMCA.
Okay. Did you help with the scrap metal drives during the war?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I could have, I don't remember it.
Remember VJ Day in Bartlesville?
Yeah, I don't remember what went on, but I remember the day.
Okay. What year did you graduate high school?
1952.
1952. From college high?
College High.
Who was your favorite teacher?
I guess Mrs. Turk.
Mrs. Turk. I remember her.
Oh, do you?
Why was she your favorite?
She was easy to get along with and seemed to understand the pupils,
Yeah.
the students, a little bit better than what some of the older ones did.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked with her on plays and I studied with her on plays and acting and things like that.
What did you do for recreation in high school?
Whew. In high school, I played some football, some basketball, some baseball, track, and mostly I worked from the time I was 15, no, from the time I was 10 on up, because I threw newspapers when I was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And that took up my evenings pretty much. And then I'd go to the Y because that's where Dad was.
Yeah.
Played ping pong, 4-ball, and weight lifts. And in fact, that's why I got this and so much in here. It's because I lifted weights too
Yeah.
much.
Who ran the? Did your father? Was he manager of the Y at that time?
No, Mr. Basil. That's not how you pronounce his name. Basil. I can't pronounce his name.
Well, what'd your father do at the Y?
He was a physical ed director. He took care of all the basketball, everything that pertained to gymnastics and stuff.
Where'd you live in Bartlesville?
Okay, I lived at first when I came in it was 500 South Osage. Right there, at that point there was a drugstore across the street, and then when we moved to 1348 Armstrong, and then from 1348 Armstrong we went to Barber Road, because I had been given a horse when I graduated by Fred Destin, and they couldn't get one very well onto 1348, so we moved out in the country.
Where'd you move out in the country? Where?
1340, no, out on Barber Road.
Barber Road.
Yeah.
Is that east of Bartlesville?
Yes.
Okay. Did you climb the mound?
I never was on top of that mountain.
Yeah.
Never was.
You climbed Circle Mountain?
Oh yeah, I've been in Circle Mountain. Yeah, I used to go hunting out there.
What'd you do up there on Circle Mountain?
Hunt.
Okay. What'd you do after high school?
After high school, well, I went 2 years of college, pre-vet.
Where?
Oklahoma A&M.
Okay.
And that's where I got involved with ROTC. And then from there I went to see, I finished 2 years of pre-vet, and I was very disillusioned because all I got to learn was more English, American history, and I thought that I ought to be learning something about veterinarian.
Yeah.
So I dropped out, came back home, went to work for Phillips out on the highway at the Turnpike, Oklahoma Turnpike, at the gas stations. I worked there for about a year, and then I ended up getting sick, and Mom and Dad had to bring me home because I couldn't take care. I had trench mouth real bad.
Okay.
And from there, I went to gas stations here in Bartlesville. I went to Tom Sass, Caberinic, Mr. Bilby, and I went out on the, can't remember the manager's name, out the one across from College High. I worked there for a while, and I ended up getting married. First, I was going to Central Christian College. At that point, it's Central Christian out there where it's, I don't know what it is now. I can't think. Anyhow.
Oklahoma Wesleyan.
Yeah. And I ended up going there, and I was going there, and I got drafted. No, I got married. And I was, 6 months later, I was Fort Sill going to summer training, and I got my draft notice. They drafted me.
When were you drafted?
When? Mm-hmm. That would have been in 1956, August the 6th, 1956. And I went to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and then they transferred me out to, and because I was also in reserves at that point.
Okay.
And I was PFC because I had been in ROTC.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got drafted, the captain made it so he said it'd be easier on me if I was PFC. So went to Fort Smith and was there for 2 weeks. Went to
that Fort Chaffee?
Yeah, yes, that's it. I was talking to a couple of people the other night and we couldn't remember what the name of Fort Chaffee. Anyhow, I went there and I was there for 2 weeks. They transferred me to Fort Knox, Kentucky, where I took my first 8 weeks of basic training. And at basic training, I had a sergeant, Sergeant McCullough. I will never forget that man. He was there for 1 week, and all of a sudden he didn't show up. He wasn't showing up. So when I was already assistant platoon sergeant because he didn't have a regular platoon assistant. So they put me in as assistant platoon sergeant because I was PFC and had training in that line. And ended up, he was an alcoholic. And he didn't show up until the last week. So they put me in as platoon sergeant. A PFC as a platoon sergeant. And so I ran the platoon in basic training for 8 weeks.
What type of training did you have in basic?
Oh, just guns and going underneath the wire and just general. And actually, it was everything I'd had in ROTC for 2 years.
Now, you said you were in the reserves. What reserve unit were you a member?
45th up here.
Okay.
This unit out on highway.
What, the National Guard up here?
No, that's not National Guard up there.
Well, the 45th is National Guard.
Okay, well, that's where I was anyhow.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was...
Because there's a reserve and National Guard here.
Right, well, I was in reserves.
Okay.
And it was out there on the highway.
Okay.
And that's where I spent that.
Yeah, okay. So from Fort Knox, where'd you go?
Fort Knox, well, I was there for 8 weeks. I come home for a week or 2 weeks. I went back and went through another 8 weeks. Well, there I wasn't platoon sergeant. I was squad leader because I had our NG sergeant come in, and they put him as platoon leader. So I went through his squad leader, and I was there for 8 weeks, going through the second 8 weeks of training in the Army, and basically we just increased our knowledge of what we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
What was the rest of that question?
Well, from Fort Knox, where'd you go?
Oh, Fort Knox. Fort Knox, I came back home for 30 days. I left for Washington, Seattle, Washington. I went there for being prepared to ship out to where I was going to go. And that's when I made the decision I'd take the Far East, which I didn't realize was going to be Korea, but I went anyhow. And so, golly, I was in there, must have been 2 months. No, it was 45 days because I went in and then around the 1st of January I got to Fort Washington. And I didn't ship out from there until 1st of February. I shipped out on my birthday, January 31st.
57?
57, yeah.
You recall the ship you were on?
I should, but I don't. It was a small troop ship, but I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah. What were you thinking when you were leaving the States heading toward Korea?
What am I going to run into?
Had you been assigned to a unit?
Not till I got there.
Okay. How did you pass the time on the trip?
On the trip, I was a guard at the exit to the mess hall, and I was doing fine until all the rest of them came out, and I had to go to the rail. But I just mainly played cards, and we didn't do very much anything as far as I can remember. It wasn't.
What were your quarters on the ship?
Oh, gee whiz, they were just bunk after bunk on top of one another,
Yeah.
very close to one another.
How long did the trip take?
I arrived in Korea February the 15th. Took 2 weeks.
What did they tell you to do in case the ship was sinking?
Well, they gave us an area to go to. I forget what area it was, but they gave us an area to go to, and that's how we practiced.
Okay. Were there enough lifeboats for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you go straight to Korea?
I went right straight. Well, we passed Japan, and some of the guys got off there, but I didn't get off in Japan. I just stayed on, and because we were only going to be there a couple of days.
And where'd you land in Korea?
Incheon, the stinkingest water I ever smelled in my life. Landed there we got into Incheon Harbor about 3 o'clock in the morning, and by 4 o'clock everybody's out on the rail trying to find out what is so smelly. Oh, that was a bad smell.
Did you find out what it was?
It's just the kimchi.
Oh, kimchi.
I guess that's what it was.
Yeah. You like kimchi?
Never tasted it.
Yeah.
I ate a lot of Korean food, but not that.
Yeah, it's cabbage. I don't know how to fix it. So what'd you do in Incheon?
Oh, Incheon, we weren't there long enough. We got off the barge, landing craft. Mm-hmm. We landed. We put in 2 deuce and a halves, or loaded up into deuce and a halves, and we shipped out to our area that we were going to go to, and I ended up at the 21st Infantry Regiment, up above
21st Regiment, 21st Division.
21st Infantry Regiment.
Regiment. What division were you
Oh, um, just infantry. I don't know what the division was.
Okay.
I don't remember. I might have known, but
Well, where was that located in Korea?
in Korea it was. Easiest way I can tell you is 5 miles from the Imjim River. We were at, Imjim was 38th parallel, wasn't it? And we went up in the Deucin house, and we got up there, and everybody was unloading, and I looked around, and all of a sudden, I was the only one standing out there, hadn't gone anyplace. Out of, I think there was 5 truckloads of us, and everybody else had been assigned, and I had never been assigned. So this tall lieutenant, his name was Lieutenant Nelson, comes walking up. He said, "Well, you got to be Roundtree." I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Well, I've got a job for you if you want it." I said, "Well, what is it?" And he says, "Well, we need a clerk typist." That's what, PX. So for 3 weeks I was a clerk typist, and I typed 1 letter. All the rest of the time I was either doing inventories or something for the, because this was where everything was shipped out of to other PXs. And so he comes up to me one day and he says, "Well, Wayne, you did a good job here, haven't you? I've got another one for you." I thought, "Oh my, what now?" So he said, "We're going to move 3 Quonset huts from this area to another area. It's 3 miles up the road. And you'll be in charge of 5 Koreans." I thought to myself, well, how can I manage Koreans when I can't even speak it? Well, it just so happened one could understand English a little bit to get by. So he gave me 5 deuce and a halves to use to haul this stuff up, because we're going to have to tear down the Quonset huts in the area and take 3 of them over to the other area and rebuild them over there into a T-form area for a warehouse. So myself and 2 other guys were put up on a hill in a tent by ourselves in that area, and we worked with the Koreans and built those Quonset huts. Mm-hmm. And we were just getting them done, and here comes Lieutenant Nelson again. He says, "Okay, you got this done now, and we're going to, how would you like to be manager of a PX?" I said, "Well, I'm fine, I don't care." He says, "Okay," he says, "next week you'll ship out, you'll be TDY to Incheon for 3 weeks going to school." The guy that was running the PX in the, can't remember which company. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, that would have been the battalion, wouldn't it? Battalion, regiment, battalion. There's 3 companies, I think, in the battalion. And I was in that particular PX. And so the guy that was president was the one that was running then, was in Hawaii, and he was going to go home.
How'd you deal with those Koreans if you didn't speak Korean?
Just hand motions, and this other fellow was, he could understand English enough to know when I wanted them to go to work, and when I wanted them, they could quit. And it was cold. Oh my golly, that was the first year I was there, see, and it was still cold in March, wind blowing, and we were up on a hill, overlooking a village down in the valley, and it was really cold up there. And so we got the Quonset huts built, and I went to the PX, and that's where I stayed the duration until I got sick, and I was put in a hospital, and I missed my drop, and they put me into that was when they changed over to the 1st Cav. Well, actually, we were the 12th Cav is what I was. And I ended up in a tank outfit, like I said, with everybody was black, but the captain and two white guys. And they put me in as a tank commander, and I had no more idea what I was doing than man in the moon. But they did that because I was a corporal, and they didn't have anybody that outranked me for this tank they had. And I had all black guys in there with me, and I told them, I said, hey, you guys are going to have to run this thing. I can't get you back or forwards in it. So we got along fine, because I didn't try to boss them around. I said, you're going to have to boss me, because I sure don't know what I'm doing.
Have any contact with the local people over there?
Oh, yeah. When I was with the PX, I'd deal with, they would be loading up the beer trucks.
What was their attitude to local people?
Oh, they were good. They were South Koreans, and so they were interested in us, and we had a good time. I mean, I didn't have any problems with them. We had some slicky boy problems, but it didn't really hurt nobody.
Slicky boys.
Yeah, they'd break in through they called them slicky boys. They just break into the compounds and steal stuff.
Oh, yeah. Now, how far are you from the DMZ?
About 2.5 miles.
Okay. Have any North Koreans come over?
No, but I went over. We went over and hunted across the MGM River.
You did?
Yeah, you could hunt 9 months out of the year. Well, no, you could hunt all year round. But in the real cold months, you didn't get out much.
So were you in North Korea hunting?
Yeah, I went. Yeah, we used to go into North Korea.
Were we allowed in North Korea?
Well, nobody ever said anything to us. We'd go over the hill. We'd cross the hill that had the bunkers on top of the hill, which had been used in the war. And then you'd go down, and we'd just be all over the place out there, because we could hunt whenever we wanted to, with whatever we wanted to. And we'd get in there, and one time I came up on a triangle, which indicates a minefield. Well, we really didn't know whether we'd been through the minefield or we were going to go through the minefield. So we went to just straight other direction, one of the four other directions. And in doing so, we ran into a bunker with shells still in there, mortar shells still there. And it was hanging right over the MGM River. Yeah. I was about 5 miles from Liberty Bridge.
Now, what about the other countries in Korea? Have any contact with them, like the Turks, or the British, or the Canadians?
Yeah, with Turks mostly.
Yeah. What was their attitude?
Oh, it was great, because I had to come to PX. They didn't have anything like we had.
Yeah. And
they'd come in and buy boxes of soap. And anything they bought was in the box. So I had Turks in there. They were encamped at about 3 miles away, and they'd walk down there and buy all this stuff, and just happy as they could be. They couldn't understand me, I couldn't understand them, but we knew the money situation, and we had a big time. Yeah.
Now there's never been a peace treaty signed over there, has there?
Nothing.
Okay.
It's still on. What do I say? Still on hold is
They had a ceasefire but no peace treaty.
Right.
Yeah. Who was your commanding officer in the 21st?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I never had any contact with him, so Lieutenant Nelson is the one that was over the PX, and I didn't pay much attention. I had company commanders right up above me, up above the PX, and I had contact with them, but I don't remember their names. I didn't ever say them, I guess, enough, because I didn't have only contact I would have with them is they'd come down and get stuff, and night when nobody else could get in, I'd let them in.
Whenever how'd you travel around Korea? You have a Jeep, deuce and a half, or how'd you travel?
Well, I had a Jeep, but not to travel around there. I had a Jeep and 5 trucks to haul food from Moonsan into the PX supplies.
From
Moonsan.
Where's that?
Oh, it's about 10 or 15 miles south of the battalion.
Okay, south of.
21st Infantry Regiment.
But was there a village there, the 21st?
There was one at the 21st, and there was one at, there was one at the 21st and one at where we were in the company.
Do you recall the name of the village?
No.
Okay.
It's just, I hadn't said it so long, probably.
How cold was it in Korea?
Well, anywhere from 40 degrees below 0 to 50.
How'd you stay warm?
Well, it's a funny coldness. It was really a funny coldness that I could, for instance, I had a picture of myself skinning a deer in 40-degree weather, minus weather, and I didn't have a coat on because you just get used to it.
Yeah.
And it's real dry. Real dry.
Is there a rainy season in Korea?
Yeah, it would come in, but we were up so high we didn't have any trouble with that. The only thing we had was the Imjin River, and we had mountains between us and them.
Okay. Now, Douglas MacArthur had been relieved. Who was in charge of all the American troops in Korea at that time?
I haven't said his name so long I can't remember it.
Was it Ridgway?
No. I can't remember who it was.
Did you get to Seoul?
I didn't ever go to Seoul. I didn't take any leave at all. After once I got up there, I didn't ever take any leave.
How long were you in Korea?
18 months.
18 months. And you said you were the first Cav. Why'd you go from the 21st to the first Cav?
Because they took the 21st away from it. They closed it down, moved it out, and brought the first Cav in.
Okay.
Or the 12th Cav. They just moved. I don't know where they moved in. Maybe they disbanded the 21st Infantry Regiment. I don't know. But
what's your best memory of Korea?
I guess just being around other GIs and being in a different country and be able to go hunting, and just mine was because I didn't have any restrictions on me. I could come and go as I wanted to. I lived in the PX, and my help lived in the 2 adjoining buildings because they were it was merchandise, and they lived in there, and I lived in the PX. And I guess the donut girls came by, and they'd come in and buy stuff from us, and we had more contact with them than anybody else did.
That's the Red Cross girls?
The donut girl.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any USO shows come through?
Yeah, we had one that I didn't ever get to because it's so far away, but it was Marilyn Monroe, I think.
Was that with Bob Hope?
Yeah. Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it was at Christmas.
Any small USO shows come to your area?
I don't remember any.
Yeah. Okay. What is your worst memory of Korea?
Oh, coldness, I guess. Really, the cold, and very depressing to see how the people have to live out there.
Well, were they rebuilding Korea after the war, South Korea?
To a certain extent,
Yeah.
especially down around Seoul. Not much up around where I was, because they're still living in villages that was almost like grass huts, you know, and so they didn't have a whole lot of building materials. Any building materials, they got scraps from our units and things like that to build with. That was the way they survived.
Okay. Are most of the people farmers over there?
Yeah, rice farmers.
Rice farmers.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as they didn't run into a minefield in there, because see, we ended we'd have a lot of GIs, not a lot of them, but quite a few GIs were killed because of the rainy season. They had the worst of mines down onto the road, or next in the gullies in the roadside, and these guys would have to go pee, and they'd go off the road and get hit. And the farmers, they'd be plowing their fields into the water, you know. They had the rice fields, and they'd be walking out in there, and they'd have them, and they'd run into them, blow them up.
Any mines left over from the war?
Yeah.
Yeah. How were the roads over there in Korea?
Dirt.
Dirt.
They were, you know, they were good size because they had decent ass going up, and so we'd made them big enough.
Okay. Tell me about coming home.
Well, when my drop came down, and I had ended up for food poisoning in the hospital.
How'd you get food poisoning?
Probably eating Korean food. It wasn't legal or something. Because my Koreans would bring me food all the time from the village. So it probably through there. And so that's how I ended up with the tanks. I got food poisoning. My drop came down. I missed the drop because I was in the hospital.
Now your drop came down.
Come home.
Okay.
Yeah, they called it a drop.
Yeah.
And so that's how come I went in the tanks, and they didn't have any place to put me when I got out of the hospital. So I was in the tank unit for about 3 months. And then my drop came down, and I just come home.
You come home by ship?
Yeah.
Tell me about that trip.
Oh, it was just, everybody was happier than they were going over. Of course, some of them were happy. We weren't allowed any alcohol or anything on board, so some of them weren't very happy. That's where I broke my habit, though, because you could buy scotch for $1.50 a fifth. So everybody starts drinking over there.
What type of quarters did you have in Korea?
Me?
Yeah.
I had my own quarters in the PX.
The PX?
Yeah, I had all them ad machines and everything in there.
What kind of building was the PX located in?
It was a Quonset hut.
Quonset hut.
Well, new style. It was, to start with, it was just a regular building, and then they moved a lot of people out over to the regimental headquarters and left these other two buildings empty, and they gave them to me as storage rooms. And he gave the library to for one storage, and gave me a whole Quonset hut for my PX, and another Quonset hut for the PX itself. And I lived in the one that was in the store, and the two men lived in the Quonset that had the storage in it.
How about the South Korean troops? Have any contact with them?
Yeah, some. The Rocks, they were good. I had just enough where they'd come into PX and buy stuff, but not very much, because they didn't really quarter with us. And otherwise, I didn't have a whole lot of contact with them.
How long did the trip home take?
12 days, I guess it was.
And you landed where?
Seattle, Washington.
When you first got off the ship, back in the States, what'd you do?
I went to the hospital because They wanted to check me out because I'd been sick, so
Yeah.
they sent me to the hospital first thing
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't want to get whatever I had spread.
Yeah. How long in the hospital?
Oh, I was there probably 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They probably left me there a little longer because I was well, but I think they just left me there because they didn't have any place else to put me. And they had plenty of room in it, so they just left me there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I took one break and went into town one time. I was just anxious to get back because I'd only been married for 6 weeks before I left.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a baby that I had never seen.
Yeah.
So it was, homecoming was kind of happy.
Yeah. How long did you stay in the Army?
I was in 8 years. I was in 6 years. Well, I'll explain something here. I enlisted in enlisted reserves, which was, I was 23 at that point, but that way I could stay in the United States, be in the Army, but I had to do it for 8 years. So when I came home, that 2 years I had 6 years added to it. So that way I ended up in reserves for 6 years and active duty for the 2 years.
Okay. And when did you get your discharge from active duty?
That's where my papers are at and where I had all that knowledge there. Well, it had been 57, 58, 59, 60, 63.
63. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you were in the reserve unit here in Bartlesville?
Right.
Okay.
Same reserve unit I left.
Yeah. When did you come back? Did you go to work for Phillips again?
Yeah. I worked for Phillips. I was with the basketball team.
What did you do with the Phillips 66ers?
I was a trainer for them.
You were a trainer.
Yeah. I took care of aches and pains on the road.
Yeah.
And saw that they were made sure that they ate something that was good for them rather than, but that didn't do any good because they'd go out and eat when I wasn't with them, so it didn't do really any good. But no, that was how. And then when I was enlisted in the reserves in order to take the 8 years and not go to active duty, well, I had that blown up in my face. They drafted me, so I took 2 years active duty and 6 years active reserves.
Do you think you'd be called up for the Cuban Missile Crisis?
No, I doubt it. I didn't get called up for Vietnam, and I was surprised at that.
Yeah.
Because at that point I was a sergeant here in the motor pool. I didn't.
Yeah. When did you get your final discharge?
1963.
1963. Okay.
Yeah, I came back and went into the reserve unit here as a training NCO.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I was just a sergeant with no rocker on me.
Yeah.
And I did that for a couple of years. And then they put me into a motor pool as a motor sergeant and gave me a full sergeant. Mm-hmm. And I did that, and then I started traveling with Phillips so much on the basketball team that I took inactive reserves because I never knew whether I was going to be someplace when I could go to active duty with training.
Would you join the Army again?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, you never get out of it.
Yeah.
Once you join, you're there. Yeah. I expected to go back to Vietnam, really. Mm-hmm. But they didn't ever call my number up, so.
I'd like to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me your reaction. The first one is basic training.
I think everybody should go through it. I think that That's one of the problems. We don't have ROTC. We do, and some of these guys need some discipline.
Yep.
And to get it, you needed 8 weeks of training.
21st Infantry.
It was a good division. It was. We had bowling. We had everything you needed to do to keep your mind on what you're supposed to do.
Korea.
Oh, rather depressing when you first get there because of the odor, and you just don't know what you're going to get into, and you don't have any idea how the people are going to react to you because they're not white. They have their way of doing things, and we had ours. But they were decent to us. The South Koreans were.
PX.
PX. It's quite an exchange nationwide. Now, what it is nowadays, I have no idea. I don't even know if they've got PXs now. Do they still have them?
Yeah.
It's great for the GIs or whoever, for service people, because you get, when somebody, you go into the town, most of the time they used to see you coming. Well, they knew you were on leave or something, had some money, so they would get what you could out of you.
Douglas MacArthur.
I think he was good. He was in charge of the Army when I was in there.
Harry Truman.
He was a weirdo. No, he was okay. I was just, I think he was a better president than what people thought he was.
Dwight Eisenhower.
Yeah. You know, he was here one time in Bartlesville.
He came for K.S. Adams' 66th birthday party.
Was it K.S. or Frank?
K.S. Adams.
K.S.?
Yeah. How do you want to be remembered?
I don't know. They never do anything to be remembered for anything. I guess be remembered as a good guy. I don't know what else to say. It's hard for me to explain myself.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we pretty well got it.
Okay.
I wish I had my paperwork. I could have answered some of those questions a little more thoroughly.
Okay. Well, sir, this is a very good interview.
Well, thank you.
I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview. And again, this is September 25th, 2018. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Wayne Rountree in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Thank you.
Well, you go to officer training school, and I don't know. I said no. I wanted to stay with the men I was with, but I probably should have taken that.
Why?
Well, I just think. Well, of course, in my own mind, I thought I maybe should have taken it, but then when you get away from it and look back over history, I'd have probably been dead if I'd taken it because I'd ended up in Vietnam. And officers naturally are in the front line on that situation.
I was just in Korea when you were offered those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this was in the United States. They offered to me a basic training.
Oh, they did? Oh. But
Yeah.
you didn't take it.
Well, at that point, I didn't need to go into any rougher training because I was training them. I was doing the training, see?
Yeah.
So if I'd been in a platoon and having to do platoon work and all that, well, maybe it'd been different.
Yeah.
If I'd, just been a normal GI. But I was just a little bit one to step up over a normal GI, I think. Because I had my ROTC training.
Yeah.